Welcome to This Just In, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the special edition of This Just In Radio. I'm your host, Justin Barnes. Today, we're broadcasting live from HIMSS25 in sunny Las Vegas. Very excited to be here. It's already been an action-packed 72 hours. The HIMSS annual conference is always the centerpiece of my annual schedule, and this happens to be my 25th HIMSS annual conference and my 11th year broadcasting from the annual conference. Even in 2020, the COVID year, we still had the broadcast and all of the same amazing guests. We just hosted this broadcast remotely and all of my guests dialed in. Many of the same leaders you're going to hear today and over the next couple of days, like Hal Wolf, Rasu Shrestha, Anish Chopra, and many more familiar names. I feel very fortunate to be able to broadcast annually from HIMSS. Hal Wolf, Albie Zakes, Morgan Searles, and the entire HIMSS team have been extremely supportive, and I'm extremely and tremendously grateful. Also, I can make a special note of thanks to Roberta Mullen, Greg Masters, Carol Flagg, and the entire Healthcare Now radio team for their tremendous support and managing the demands of my HIMSS broadcasts annually and the recordings. Also, I'm eternally grateful to all of my hundreds of guests throughout the years, and certainly to all of my loyal listeners. We owe all of this show's success to you, and we still are so honored to have won the Sway Health 2024 Healthcare Podcast of the Year award that never gets old, but rather challenges us to get better every day with every broadcast and every conference. Which leads us to today. This is the start of 3 days, 5 shows, and over 40 guests here in Las Vegas for HIMSS25. We have our best lineup yet of CEOs, CIOs, CTOs, care providers, researchers, policy leaders, and visionaries joining the show. As many of you know, my goal for broadcasting live each year from these key conferences is to create an information medium that shares best practices, key strategies, and actionable intelligence from the industry's leading sources and experts. My objective, along with all my guests here, will be to offer tactics and strategies to not only survive, but to thrive as you navigate your hospital, your physician practice, your company, or even your family through all these changes occurring across healthcare today. There is more opportunity than ever before for all of us to thrive, but we must understand how healthcare is evolving, how policy and reimbursement is shifting, and where best practices and innovation can support our efforts. I hope you glean all of this over the next few days. That's at least my goal. Welcome back to This Just In Radio Show, broadcasting live from HIMSS25 in sunny Las Vegas. I'm excited to introduce my next guest and new friend of the show, Melisa Margraves, VP of Healthcare and Life Sciences for Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Welcome to the show.
Than'd you. Thanks for inviting me.
Where'd you come in from?
I live in the Bay Area.
Which part?
Santa Cruz Mountains,
Sure.
About an hour or so south of San Francisco on the coast.
I had a house in Santa Cruz, and I lived in Palo Alto for a little while.
Oh, okay.
So I know the
Awesome.
area a little bit.
So you
Went
know
over the
the area.
mountains. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. What road is that connects those two?
Highway 17, the dreaded 17.
That's it. Yes. Awesome. So when did you get in town?
Yesterday midday.
Okay, excellent. Anything fun so far that you've seen around here that you like?
Wow.
Other than the HP booth?
Yeah. So, yeah,
Tony?
I think what's interesting to me is walking around and how many of these companies were not here last year.
Right.
There's a lot of new names, and especially, of course, in the AI world, everybody's trying to find their path. And
very
certainly
true.
a lot going on.
And thank you for being a professional with her microphone. She's nice and loud and crisp. It's awesome. Thank you. So what progress are you most excited about seeing in the industry today?
Well, I mean, who is not excited about AI in healthcare?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
I think there's so much going on, as I said, just trying to walk around and understand what each of these companies' role is in AI, and even the big vendors, right, are incorporating AI. So I think what's exciting is, just from a diagnostic standpoint,
Yep.
the idea that AI can now analyze images from different sources, data from different sources, and make diagnosis that may have been missed, or maybe make it sooner than a physician or a clinician would have seen or caught something. So I think that's really exciting. And then predictive analytics is also really exciting in this space. So I think it's a lot of vendors trying to play in that space in general, but being able to actually then take all of that data, leveraging machine learning, and make predictions about your health, right? Be able to address something that might happen to you, or make predictions based on your genetics. And so I think the predictive analytics is also really exciting in this space.
Excellent. I love it. So what are a few healthcare or digital health trends that you're seeing in the industry today?
So there's a lot. I think one that I'm excited about is really the remote patient monitoring, the home health. I mean, anyone that has parents or aging parents or parents that want to continue to have their independence and live at home, but really shouldn't be living alone. There's amazing technology evolving in that space. And so I'm really excited about it because I do have a dad that really needs to use some of that technology to be able to, again, give them their independence, but also keep them safe. And so, whether that's fall detection or monitoring that allows a nurse remotely to go, their gait's a little off today, or they're not walking right. Maybe they fell. Maybe we need to call and check in on them. Things like that without having intrusive cameras on them all the time, which, again, my dad's been an example of why, I don't want you intruding with a camera. Okay, well, what other technology can we look at? And then wearables. I mean, that's really evolved, right?
Yes,
so
significantly, yeah.
You used to, back in the day, you'd put, on your elderly parent one of those buttons and they push it when they fall.
Yes.
I mean, it's completely evolved from there, right? So wearables in all dimensions, if it's just to send blood pressure or their diagnostic data back, so somebody looking at that data can make some assumptions or proactively involve themselves to get them some help. I mean, all of that is a really exciting space.
Yeah, and I think you've just kind of answered, well, you moved into my other question. My next question is, what advice would you give to somebody to navigate those trends? So obviously, those types of different devices, and I completely agree with you. I helped navigate my grandmother. she was 98 and a half 99 and a half when she passed. But I actually gave her some devices, to help her navigate. But again, not too intrusive. I didn't appreciate too much, but I gave her an iPad, and then we had some biometrics put onto there that we could monitor once in a while. And it was a process to get her to accept it, but it made our life a lot. And I did not live near her, so it made my life better by being able to navigate some of that, check in on her. She also kind of liked it. She would never admit it, but she did like to. She liked that we were caring for her, looking in on her, but she wouldn't tell us that.
Right.
So moving down that train of thought, what best practices or strategies would you give to somebody to help navigate that?
So I think one of the best practices I would say for any of the organizations that are trying to deploy these types of technologies is finding the right partner or partners, because it's really not one partner, right?
Absolutely.
That can bring tribal knowledge, can bring, maybe help fill the gaps of where you might have gaps on your team, or education that's done what you're trying to do before and has done it successfully, and can feed some of that information and data and teams into what you guys are trying to accomplish. And so I think just from a best practice standpoint, it's really identifying those key partners and introducing them, especially because, in healthcare, there's a declining, there's a workforce shortage, right?
Absolutely.
We're seeing more and more, whether that's IT or on the clinician side, and be it COVID that drove them away, or cost, or maybe it's not as exciting to work in healthcare and IT as it is at Meta, right? Like whatever the reasons,
it's
an ongoing decline.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it means finding those partners is even more important than ever, because you need those people to help fill the gaps of knowledge that's left. So I think, I would say that is a best practice. Certainly the networking piece of an event like this. Like, I always challenge myself at these events, meet 7 to 10 new people every day. Right? And learn about them. What are they doing? How are they dealing with it? What are their challenges? Because everybody attacks something differently. And so just really using your network that you meet at these events, I think, is really critical too.
I couldn't agree more, and I actually want to take a moment, because a lot of people say, well, they're so busy, why should I fly there? I don't want to go to Vegas. I don't want to go to Orlando. There's, like you said, this is a great opportunity to learn, hone your skills, collaborate, look for partners. It takes partners to accomplish most things in healthcare. So if you have that as a goal, and I like how you put pre-planning into this, and so you come here with the mission, which is you'll get a lot more out of it, because a lot of people, they kind of show up and say, well, I didn't get as much out of it because you didn't put much into it. I guarantee that, because if you put a little bit into HIMSS, you'll get a lot out of it.
Totally.
I guess following that track, before I move to my last question, what else do you hope to achieve the next couple of days while you're here at HIMSS25?
So certainly the networking piece, I told you that. I mean, for me, it's a chance to also learn, like I said, learning about a lot of these companies. I mean, are these companies that my company should be partnering with? How would we partner with them? What does that look like as we're trying to come up with more verticalized solutions? Being from HPE, we're really focused on the healthcare space, but what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything unless you find vertical solutions that address their challenges and needs. So. a lot of that is we're a piece of it, AMD's a piece of
Absolutely.
it, right? But there's so many other technologies. So I think for me, really learning a lot about what is here, what this space has to offer, is something I'm focused on the next few days. And then there's some amazing sessions. I sat in on a couple, of course, AI, because it's a hot topic, and just kind of learning what people are doing to address and bring AI into their healthcare infrastructure.
Love it. Fantastic. Thinking beyond today, what's a key trend or strategy that with you ready to navigate in 2 to 3 years from now? What do you think?
2 to 3 years from now. Well, AI is going to continue to evolve, right?
Absolutely.
If you think of even where we've come in 12 months, most of these companies weren't here.
Right.
Now they're here. Imagine what it's going to look like next year, right? So I think a trend that you have to really think about is how to build infrastructure and an environment and network that's both open but
excellent.
secure.
Excellent.
Because you want to be able to bring in technologies, but you also, patient data is the most sought after data, right? By attackers. So, how do you both have an open environment but also secure? So I think it's something everybody's got to think about. Cybersecurity is real, and it's in healthcare. We hear about it all the time, right? Change Healthcare has been a big one that got hit this year, last year. So I think just kind of taking those pieces in and trying to really focus on the security piece, but incorporating AI by keeping an open infrastructure as well.
Fantastic advice. And to your point, I had a broadcast earlier today, and we had 2 different sessions talked about, the average day, it'll cost a health system $1.9 million to be down, and the average outage costs $32 million at the end of 2024. So, being focused on this, making sure that you have the right infrastructure, you write the backup, that's where AMD comes in, and other great leaders out there. So, so I totally agree with that.
Well, and also, just specific to the space, IOMT, right? So if you think about 30 billion devices are expected to be online in the Internet of Medical Things by next year.
Right, good point.
That's huge.
Yes.
Like, how do you bring those? Every device in a clinical setting, in a hospital, a smart bed, whatever it is, wearables going home with people. That's it almost seems too daunting to even tackle, right? But it's something that's real. So the security piece is so important and finding the right partners to align with. Absolutely.
Well, they're absolutely here if you take the time to look for them, as you know. Melisa Margraves, thank you so much for joining me. HPE, you guys are awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome back to This Justin Radio Show, broadcasting live from HIMSS25 in sunny Las Vegas. I'm excited to introduce my next guest and new friend of the show, Jason Jones, Global Chief Executive from Rackspace.
Yep, absolutely.
Welcome
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. Thank you very much, my friend. So before we dive into the questions, when did you get in town?
I got in town Monday morning. Midday.
Okay.
Midday, yeah.
Anything fun that you've seen around here that you're interested in?
I'm not a Vegas fan. I'm not a Vegas fan.
Yeah.
Mostly because it's all for work, right? You never do any play when you're in Vegas, right?
I agree.
Yeah, it's rough. Plus, as a kid, I came here every summer. Grandparents live south of here, so it was...
Okay.
So I've had enough of this town for a lifetime.
Where do you live full-time?
Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
Seattle, Washington. Well,
Excellent.
I pay mortgage in Seattle, so there you go.
Exactly. Very cool. What are your goals for being here the next couple of days?
HIMSS, it's a great place to connect, right? And this year is actually unique. It seems like we're coming back to pre-COVID,
right?
Where you're seeing a lot of the buyers coming back, right? A lot of the executives are showing up.
I agree.
Typically, the last couple of years, it's really been about reconnecting with those individuals. Healthcare's a small ecosystem, right? And so reconnecting with those people.
Totally.
So it's been really good to see some of those, colleagues that you haven't seen in a while and connect back with. It's a great place to be, right? And I love it. I do love it.
Completely
right?
agree.
So,
how many HIMSS have you been to? Ballpark.
Oh my gosh. 15, 12, 15.
This is my 25th. I'm like, oh my gosh, but 25 years been doing this here. So I love it. Yeah, and I agree. It's a great way to reconnect with everybody. Good energy, and we're actually getting back to pre-COVID levels. I think we're about to have a little over, hopefully we're about to hit like 31,000, 32,000 people here.
Yesterday I heard 39. Somebody said 39. I don't know if we're there yet, but
that'd be interesting.
Still,
that'd be good.
We broke the 30. We know that, right?
It's fantastic. So I'd like to start off something positive. What progress do you like to see, or that you're seeing in the industry that makes you happy?
We'd like to throw buzzwords around, like transformation and all of this. And I'm actually going to say the cloud, right? Which is unique. Let me kind of explain why.
Yep.
The Gartner hype cycles, right? And so I would argue we're pretty far on the backside of the Gartner hype cycle for cloud.
Right.
Risk adverse in healthcare and adoption. We've seen all other industries race to the cloud. They're actually at that repatriation of specific workloads. What's the right place, right thing? But now we're seeing this race to the cloud, which it's going to change healthcare, right? It's not their primary business of being in data centers. They shouldn't be in data centers. They need to have IT to deliver quality of care and outcomes and all of that. So this cloud adoption piece is really, I'm excited that we're finally there, that the narrative is catching on, right?
Yep.
Which, that's exciting to me.
Yeah, I agree. And then to follow on with that, kind of my next question is, what trends are you seeing in the industry? Obviously, I mean, cloud adoption and transformation like that, but what trends are you seeing in the industry that you...
That for us, it's evaluating, the defining cloud, right? So that is a trend that I talk a lot about, right? Because, so our business, we do public cloud and private cloud, so we're a hybrid cloud provider.
Yep.
And really helping clients understand cloud, because we have a lot of, board conversations, senior executive conversations. We need to do more in the cloud, more in the cloud, more in the cloud. But getting lower into that, let's define what that is, right? So really seeing that trend of defining cloud and really specifying the right workload, right? These critical workloads, EMR and those types of things in the cloud.
Yep.
Well, let's define that, right? Because not everything's a race to the hyperscaler, or does it make sense, right? So that trend is super exciting for me. We'll talk a minute about AI, right? I don't want to throw that out there. One of the things that had dinner last night with the CMIO, reducing that pajama time, right? And how we're actually going about that with some of the ambient things and stuff like that.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It's unreal the potential that we have to affect care. And they were really talking about, I'll go back to Google, right? When Google first came out, we were learning how to use Google. I would argue now, everybody knows how to use Google. Right. In that ambient space, there's still a muscle that we got to flux to figure out how to use it.
Yes.
But even now that we're not there, we're still seeing a reduction, right? So that, defining what truly cloud is and seeing some of these emerging technologies like ambient really impact this burnout that we have to solve for, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. So to follow on that, what best practices would you recommend somebody to engage that or begin that process, the research?
Yeah, so for us, it really, it's the right workload for the right use case, the right location, right? And it has to be the right cost perspective,
Absolutely.
right? So we look at EMR realistically in the private cloud. So I do a lot of go-to-market internationally, spend a lot of time in the Middle East and across Western Europe. Sovereignty takes a big key, right? We're doing a lot of work in Saudi. So those sovereign data centers and that PHI really needs to be in that private cloud capability. And then that ecosystem of applications that plug directly into it, right?
Yep.
And stay close to that. Then aligning those other aspects of data. So for us, it's really evaluating workload by workload. What is it doing? What is the ingress egress, right?
Yeah.
And all of that ecosystem. And then lining that up from a cost structure, we realistically look at three things, right? Hardware, software, and services.
Yep.
Every data center has it.
Yep.
How do you do the right thing for each one of those aspects in it? Labor and non-labor costs across the board.
It's excellent. Now kind of the fun part of putting on your proverbial crystal ball hat. What do you see as a trend, and this is where it gets fun, that we have to navigate in 2 to 3 years from now? Or strategy?
Yeah, if you would ask me that question 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said I don't know, and I probably would kind of still lean into that. Yeah. But back to that hype cycle piece, right? My wife doesn't have, she does have ChatGPT on her phone, but only because Apple forced it on it, not because she knows how to use it.
Yeah.
When she actually has it on her phone, that's when I think we will see a rapid adoption of true AI that is massively impacted. You're always going to have the early adopters on that curve.
Right.
And we're going to solve things, rev cycle and things like ambient, like this entrance. But transparency of models and where that model, how it was built and how it's delivering that's what I'm really, really excited to see. And then how that is going to change. The other thing that I truly believe that this will also help us address is some of that healthcare desert that we have in a lot of those flyover states.
Absolutely.
Right? And so those two things, I think, helping us figure out how to solve that healthcare desert disparity that we have here domestically, aligning that with AI, I hope to see those things really solving big problems. One of the quotes I heard, I'm gonna steal it.
Please.
Knowledge. We have data, knowledge, and wisdom. No individual is going to have all the knowledge that it's going to take to understand a diagnosis, right? But keeping that wisdom and being able to deliver that knowledge to people with wisdom in real time.
Yep.
Super excited about that. Super excited.
Do you know where you got that? Was that Rasu Shrestha? Did you hear that from? Do you remember where you heard that?
I heard that from, what is his last name?
Anish Chopra?
No, he's the CMIO of White Plains Hospital.
Okay. No, it's a. I've heard that quote before, and I absolutely love it. And I agree. I think the desert, the healthcare desert, is a conversation we had yesterday on air, because people don't realize a lot of communities. I think the stat is like 95% of us live in more of a rural community. We don't live in major cities.
Correct.
Some of these communities now, more than ever before, only have one healthcare system.
Correct.
If that healthcare system goes down, thousands and tens of thousands of people may not have access to care.
Absolutely.
And that could be for, I think the average downtime is 24 days or something like that. Think about all the care provided, not just the cost of $1.9 million a day or $32 million for an average outage, but all the care that's not provided, the lives that could be lost. It's significant. So that's why it needs to be more of a conversation. We don't talk about it that much. I'm glad that you brought it up as well.
Yeah, so. I just don't think we see it, right? Because it is predominantly in the flyover states,
right?
And so it's just not something we talk about, right? And honestly, I own go-to-market for everything outside the United States, and actually finding these locations that we would think in our mind are remote have better access to care for their populations than our own population domestically. And it's staggering when you actually start to look at it and understand the numbers. So how do we do a better job and reach those individuals? And I think we're close. I think we're closer, but we do need to have more conversations about it, absolutely.
Excellent. So in our closing minute, what else do you hope to accomplish while you're here for the next day or so?
That I get some rest.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I just to bring more things into light, right? Understand, is there some gaps that we're missing as Rackspace? Is there some capabilities that we can deliver, some things that we can integrate into our ecosystem of, providing value? Those are some of the things that I hope to accomplish and see here.
Excellent. Yeah, these are 18-hour days, so we don't get a whole lot of rest. But
and 2 or 3 dinners.
Exactly, yeah. Always fun, though. Once a year.
Yes.
Did you go to Vive at all?
I did. I've
so
done
you're
the
one of the crazy
circuit.
ones. We came from Vive. We did a couple of radio shoots there. We're happy this is all over with because we're kind of done. But
yeah, no. So I did Dubai Health, and then now I did Vive. I'm at HIMSS. I'll be in Rewired in 2 weeks, and so yeah, the first half of the year, the circuit is brutal.
Well, I do say it fills the funnel though, so it builds it keeps all of us very busy. Fills the funnel for the rest of the year, so it gives us a great rest of the year.
And it's phenomenal to see everybody, right? I mean, it's awesome, right? And just
30,000 of our closest friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Jason Jones, Rackspace, thank you so much for joining me on air. You're awesome, dude.
Excellent.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank
awesome.
You.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a wrap from Las Vegas and HIMSS25. Thank you all for listening. And I certainly want to offer a note of gratitude to the dedicated partners of my weekly syndicated show. And also, again, thanks to everyone who voted us 2024 Healthcare Podcast of the Year. Thank you so much, Roberta Mullen, Greg Masters, Carol Flagg, and the entire crew at the Healthcare Now Radio Network. They've also been producing my show for 11 years, and it's a true blessing to be able to do this every single year. Also, a special note of thanks to Jake Reed, my head of media. Jake did a phenomenal job managing our remote broadcast while here at HIMSS25 and recording from the conference floor and within the AMD booth, as well as the Amazon Web Services Theater. So thank you very much to Jake, and many thanks to all of my show partners, AMD and AWS, and also a shout out to Medallion here, who gave me water for my shows, certainly my lasting shows. So thank you very much to not only AMD and AWS, but certainly Medallion. And then also Bright Hour has a foundation that I want to make a special shout out to. Sebby Browning, Georgia HIMSS. She put together this new foundation to help with workforce development and education in health IT. So Sebby Browning, she's fantastic. HIMSS Georgia chapter, they're always great partners and supporters of my radio show. Great people. So look up Bright Hour Foundation and give her some love and support. And certainly a big thank you to Hal Wolf, Albie Zakes, Morgan Searles, the entire HIMSS team. They're always extremely supportive in the events and broadcasting requirements that I have. And again, thank you so much to all my listeners. We're grateful for you. You make us better with every broadcast. And that's a wrap from Las Vegas. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.